got a real one in here now. You got a real one in here. Y'all got a real one in here now.
Hey, what's up, fight fans? It is the homie, Mainman Mademan here. Hey, y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. What up to the fam? And what up to everyone in Mainman Mademan's boxing forum over there on Facebook, man. Thumbs up as you pull up. Hey, so the thing is this. Word on the curb today that we got some really good news involving Jaron Boots Ennis, the highest rated contender in the IBF, fight fans. And according to the reports this morning, it looked like Jaron Boots Ennis' words that he echoed earlier this week about wanting his title shot this year may just come to fruition. The Ring magazine, fight fans, is reporting that Jaron Ennis has now reached some sort of agreement to be doing a final eliminator in either March or April. According to the reports, it says that news has reached the Ring that rising star Jaron Boots Ennis has accepted an IBF welterweight final eliminator against an as yet unnamed contender and will likely fight somewhere around April or May. This spells nothing but good news for Jaron Ennis. As we've been reporting here on the channel, fight fans, Jaron Ennis is on his way, and he is in very good position amongst the IBF sanctioning body to get himself possibly a world title shot. Now, as the reports is coming out saying, the opponent is yet unnamed, and a lot of fight fans have already kind of done some homework and started to try to piece together who possibly this name could possibly be. Let's go over to the IBF rankings real quick, fight fans, and let's check this out. Well, according to the IBF rankings, as we see here, Jaron Boots Ennis is rated number 3. He's at the top. He's the highest rated contender in the IBF, with the number 1 and number 2 spots remaining vacant, as they always do in the IBF until an actual mandatory is chosen. Then they will more than likely be elevated up to number 1 or number 2. But the IBF always set a certain criteria that they have to be fulfilled before they choose someone to occupy those spots. So Jaron Ennis is the highest rated contender. As for Virgil Ortiz is right up under him, as we've been reporting on the channel. We just don't know exactly what route that he's going to go to next. His next fight with Michael McKinson is for the WBO International and the WBO Global titles, which means that the WBO possibly is sanctioning that fight, which means that at present moment, it looks like Virgil Ortiz is heading down the WBO route, possibly if he gets this next win, maybe just becoming the mandatory to possibly Terence Crawford. However, Virgil Ortiz is also rated number 1 in the WBC, and he has said the name of David Avanesian, who's rated right underneath him. So we will see which way that Virgil wants to go in his next fight to maybe determine whether or not which sanctioning body he's looking to maybe get his title shot in. But it just remains to be seen. And as of now, he has a scheduled fight. So the next available name is Custio Clayton, and a lot of boxing fans believe that this is going to be the guy, given that Custio Clayton's recent movement in the IBF sanctioning body, where Custio Clayton was rated much lower before his last fight. And in his last fight, he fought a guy who was a lower tier opponent, had a lot of losses, and he beat that dude. And some people say that he didn't look all that great. However, he was highly elevated all the way up to the number 5 spot. That's over Conor Benn, that's over David Avanesian, and a lot of other fighters. And so people look at this movement and say, well, you know, why would they move Custio Clayton all of these spots after getting the kind of win that he just recently got? And so it signals to boxing fans that maybe this just may be the guy. Not to mention, Custio Clayton comes with no political attachments, where he does business with any network and pretty much all promoters. And Jaron Boots in his case, where he's rolling with Cameron Duncan, D&D Promotions, this will be a very viable opponent for Jaron Ennis. And so a lot of people believe that that could be the guy. We just don't know. The name is still unnamed at present moment. That's just boxing fans doing homework and doing the process of elimination. Not to mention the guy who recently occupied the top spot, Quadrilio Abdukokorov, where he was recently defeated by Cody Crowley. And instead of Cody Crowley getting elevated maybe up to the top 5 or even top 10 for that matter, Cody Crowley was only elevated to as high as number 14, putting him well without of the reach of the IBF Final Eliminator or mandatory. So It doesn't look like it's going to be Cody Crowley, you know. Matter of fact, beating Abdul it literally only placed him one spot ahead of Abdul. Wow, that's crazy. So fans are doing the process of elimination, and they're saying that this may just be the guy. Only time will tell, fight fans. Only time will tell. So we will see. Now, what this means is that, like we've been talking on the channel, that it looks as if that Jaron Boots Ennis route may end up in front of Errol Spence Jr., depending on how everything goes and the decisions that are made in the near future. Because if he beats this IBF Final Eliminator, he's pretty much the mandatory. We know that this IBF mandatory has not been fought in quite some time since Errol Spence Jr. fought Carlos Ocampo, which was a couple years ago. So you would think that Jaron Ennis' time should be coming, and this is the reason why he's possibly saying that he wants a title shot sometime this year, because this is a fast route for him, and he'll be right there in a mandatory position that's well long overdue. Now, I know a lot of fight fans may say, well, man, don't forget about the WBA situation for Errol Spence, because Yordenis Ugas had to work out a deal where Stanionis had to step aside and go face Butiev, but they're saying that possibly the next fight would have to be the winner of that fight, maybe. We just don't know that right off back. That's just a lot of guesstimation there. Time will tell if it operates that way. But I will say that the IBF situation came up much before that WBA situation. Not to mention the IBF mandatory is long overdue even before the WBC mandatory, which some people may see movement there and say, well, maybe it'll be a WBC mandatory. Well, this IBF situation was here before all of that, fight fans. So you just got to wonder which way they're going to make Jaron Ennis lean. You also got to wonder, if Jaron becomes the mandatory, will they make him wait? This is interesting. So we're just going to have to wait and see when that time comes, fight fans. The one thing I got to admit, the boxing fan in me is a little happy about this, because just like where we were before the Yordenis Ugas and Errol Spence Jr. fight got announced, well, I believe that the Jaron Ennis situation applies pressure towards Errol Spence, because that's not a fight that I'm sure that he really wants to take. I mean, he wants to go after legacy fights. He's a man with, you know, a couple belts. His name is rising. He wants to keep on rising his name, doing big pay-per-views. Most importantly, going after fighters that improve his legacy as to a high-risk, low-reward kind of fight. And we all know that that fight is Terence Crawford. That's the fight that the boxing fans want to see. And so I would hope that this situation would apply pressure and force Errol Spence Jr. to the table, or Yordenis Ugas, if Yordenis Ugas defeats Errol Spence. But I will hope it forced one of them to the table, because they don't want to deal with this and work out some sort of deal with Terence Crawford. I don't know what that deal will entail. Step aside money for Ennis, step aside money for whoever. I don't know. Work out a deal to prevent Errol Spence from having to either vacate an IBF title or fight Jaron Ennis. And that's just, we're just going to have to wait and see, once again, how the IBF wanted to determine this. And we'll see how it all goes, man. But this is a heck of a decision. We knew that the decision was coming down from everything that we've been seeing moving around Jaron Ennis. We knew it was coming in due time. And they're saying that this kid wants to come back in March or April and mop up this IBF Final Eliminator, making him the mandatory challenger to the IBF title that's held by Errol Spence Jr. Let's see how this all works out, fight fans. Things are getting real interesting. Thumbs up on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Share. Rock them bells. Salute to everyone once again in Mainman Mademan's boxing forum. Much love to y'all. Much love to the whole entire fam, man. And like I always say, man, to the next video. Peace out. Tell me what you want. Tell them what you want. Go get it off the front. Go get it with the hunt. Hey, just tell them what you want. Look here. Let me ask one question. Do you really want the limelight? Do you want the moonlight? Ain't no stage fright. Hey, you about to get paid right. Hey, wolves in sheep clothing. Come around, I'm splitting you open. Trying not to break focus. I see so much hocus pocus.